Hi, Lisa. Thank you for joining us today.
Hello.
So as a company, you focused on a major problem that governments and communities have to deal with, which is algae blooms. And you came up with a clever approach driven by technology and innovation. So how did this come together?
So yeah, nowadays indeed algae, it's a very well-known problem, and we see that it worldwide is creating problems in lakes and reservoirs, and even this week we saw the elephants in I think Botswana that died from the algae bloom. So we see now that it's due to climate change and pollution. It's a big problem. But when we started this business, it was not yet that well known of a problem, and we would see that specifically for drinking water production, most of the operators dealt with the algae inside their treatment plant. So the water quality was something that they adjusted their water treatment on by adding more chemicals or activated carbon, etc. And we really wanted to take the water quality, the water reservoir, the raw water reservoir, as part of the treatment plant. Because the better quality water you're taking into your treatment plant, the easier it is to treat. And then you can also save on the chemicals you use in your treatment plant and the filter washing, the activated carbon dosage. So that's how we started with our technology, and by now we are not only using it for drinking water, but also for recreational water, nuclear, and all kinds of energy production where they use cooling. But when we started the technology, we said, okay, so we're going to develop something that can treat large water surfaces, and there is always an established ecosystem in these lakes and reservoirs, so it cannot be harmful for the environment. Then we developed the MPC buoy system, which is an ultrasonic based system that uses water quality monitoring to control algae and ultrasound. So the water quality monitoring is used to analyze the type of algae and also the growth stage and make a prediction of the algae in the water. And based on that, the system sends out an ultrasonic signal that influences the buoyancy of the algae. So by influencing their buoyancy regulation, they cannot take, for example, sufficient sunlight to grow and get into a bloom. Other organisms, such as aquatic plants and fish, they are not relying on the same buoyancy, so they are not harmed by that at all. So what you would see is that we would only take out the algae bloom and all the negative effects of algae bloom, toxins, the problem of light penetration into the water column, and also the increased pH. And because we would take out those effects, we would see that the rest of the aquatic ecosystem would start to thrive again. So water plants could grow again because there was more light going into the reservoir and because the pH levels were more stable. And because of that, we would also see that the oxygen levels would stabilize in a water column. And also these plants take up some of the nutrients that otherwise the algae would take. So you would also get more regulations of the nutrients eventually based on our technology.
Okay, so basically what you're doing, you're avoiding the usage of chemicals, you're using the environment to treat also and help you in terms of fighting the algae blooms. So
that's correct. Yeah.
In terms of vision on the future of environmentally friendly lake water treatment, what do you think? How do you see it?
So we've been treating our lakes and waterways with chemicals for far too long, and it has led to the environmental disasters that we are seeing right now. And although you hear that a lot of people say when they hear about an algae bloom, they will say, oh, it's because too many nutrients ended up in the water. We need to stop the nutrients. But the fact is different, that yes, too many nutrients ended up in the water, but stopping the nutrient inflow now, it's not going to solve it, because all these nutrients for the last 30 or 50 years, they have already ended up in the water. They are there stored in the sediments. So stopping the nutrient inflow, it will maybe give a result in 30 years, but not now. So we need to do something about that now. And the MPC buoy is the first step. So it will take out the algae bloom and therefore also improve the environment for other aquatic organisms. But we are also introducing other technologies that will help the environment. So for example, We have a nanobubble system which will increase the oxygen at the sediment, and it's specifically designed for large lakes. So it can, on a very energy efficient way, increase oxygen just at the sediment where it is low based on water quality monitoring. And because of that, nutrients are no longer released from the sediment, because the sediment starts releasing nutrients when the oxygen is low. So by keeping the oxygen high, we will prevent the release of nutrients from the sediments. And then we are also working on a technology which will actually remove phosphorus from the water. So current technologies that deal with nutrients in the sediment, they are based on adding usually heavy metals to the water that will bind on the nutrients, but they have a couple of very big downsides. First of all, you are adding heavy metals that you cannot take out anymore. And secondly, when your oxygen is low, this bound may still be broken and you still get your nutrients back into the water column. So we designed a system that you can use to just take out the nutrients without that you leave any metal or anything in the water body. You just take out the nutrients from the sediment. And then with these free technologies, we can really target the different environmental problems that may provoke algae bloom.
So what you're doing is basically treating the root cause and not just the symptoms. And unfortunately, today we only treat the symptoms. So it's yes. It's a very good approach. So I wish you all the success in the future with the new technologies and the new product launches.
Thank you.
Thank you today. Thanks.